I told you that every single time that you change anything about yourself, that you're grieving, right? I don't think people think like this. And yet, really and truly, every single time you go through any change, it means that something is lost and something is gained. So during that change process, you are saying goodbye to something when you're saying hello to something else. And here is a place where I think our culture fails us tremendously. We're not taught how to say goodbye. Hi, I'm Dr. Natalie Marr, and I'm a life transition expert as well as a clinical psychologist. So for me, this is a subject matter that I have geeked out about for years. Grief is happening all the time. Yet our culture is teaching us that it is a negative thing, that it's a scary thing, that it's an overwhelming thing, and it's only happening when we have a loss of a loved one. And that is just not accurate. We grieve all the time. We say goodbye to parts of ourselves all the time, or maybe we don't. And here is the trick. I believe that we need to learn better how to say goodbye. That's why I'm going to do my last of the free workshops I put out this summer on this subject matter. We need to learn to respect that in order to change and get something new in our life, we also should be paying homage to the parts of ourselves that got us this far. We should be saying goodbye. And when we don't, there's an implicit or underlying message that's happening here, that the old life wasn't good enough, that the old life didn't muster up, and that's why we're changing, right? Now, to some extent, there is something that's true about that, right? We know better, we do better. It's one of my favorite Maya Angelou quotes. And yet, if we keep just letting the past think that it wasn't good enough and foraging through to change, the message that we're sending ourselves over and over and over is that we aren't good enough and we have to keep looking forward to get better. Only we're never going to arrive there because we're always trying to move forward and always trying to change things. Do you see how that loop starts to happen? And it really is a tricky one. So my tip for you today is just one different part in that process that takes it from being a loop, a closed loop, to helping you spiral into the new version of yourself without telling the old versions of yourself that you weren't good enough to begin with. You need to say goodbye. You need to show up for that old part of yourself, acknowledge that you brilliantly survived through all that you've survived through. 100% survival rate, people, right? Like, you're here, so you did survive your life up until this point. Some of it you even enjoyed and lived, right? That's what you need to remember, is that there are elements of what you've done that have worked really well. And you want to thank that part of your system. You want to thank that part of yourself. That way, you're acknowledging you had good and we continue to be better. But not telling that old part by pretending I'm just moving past, I'm changing, that it wasn't good enough. You've been good. You are good. You'll be good. And you need to intentionally take your attention and put it on saying goodbye to parts of yourself when you're done and you've learned more and you're going to do better into the present and future. Stay compassionately self-aware, and you too can learn to love your story.